Hey everybody, it is Wintermute coming to you from the think tank, and we're going to start the Commonwealth. Now, obviously, the Commonwealth is a little more complex because it's actually broken up into three separate entities in the core game, and then becomes four if you include the Canada expansion. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to break these up yet. I'm going to just kind of go with it, and when I feel I reach a good breaking point, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and work on the next, and so on and so forth. I might do Great Britain one, FEC in one, Anzac in another, and then another to kind of bring them all together. I'm not 100% sure yet, so we'll just kind of play it by ear. But we'll start off with Great Britain for obvious reasons. They're kind of the core of the Commonwealth. So, home country for Britain itself is London, Northern England, British Midlands, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So, basically, all those territories right up there on the main island, and then the tip of Ireland. The Commonwealth. British Commonwealth includes Great Britain, FEC, and Anzac. These share the same turn, war status, technology marker, per turn limits on technology development, per turn lease limits, as well as strategic rail and strategic naval movement limits. And then Canada. Great Britain treats all territories marked with a Canadian roundel as British. Great Britain may receive lend-lease from the United States in Canada. Great Britain may build medium and major factories in Canada. And we'll definitely touch back on that one. 36, they're obviously at peace with everybody. And then 39 is a little different, but I generally don't play the 39, so I'm not going to go into it. It may not lend lease to FEC or Anzac. And just to clarify, the reason for that is because all the Commonwealth nations, all take their turn together, fight as one. Even if you use different colored units, they're all the Commonwealth. So they all fight together. So you wouldn't lend lease to them. You would simply hop on a transport and go over there, or you'd simply sail the ship over there. So that's part of the reason that works that way. And then it may lend lease to any other nation once Great Britain is at war with a major power. Now, Great Britain has to be at war with a major power to make that work. Oops, sorry. It doesn't care what anybody else's war status is. It has to be at war with a major power, which is a little different than some of how the other nations work. Surrender. If London is captured, Great Britain may move its capital to the South African Union, Ottawa, Sydney, or Calcutta. Great Britain may then receive lend-lease at the new location through the lend-lease process. If all 5 possible capitals are enemy-possessed at the end of the British Commonwealth turn, Great Britain surrenders. So, obviously, Britain is hard to knock out of the war, if not at all impossible, because America is obviously not going to... It's going to take great offense to anybody attacking Canada. Even today, I'm sure it would take great offense to anybody attacking Canada for any reason. Now, which one of those is best? That is completely up to you in the situation of your game. Obviously, if you... Ottawa is particularly safe because it's got America right there. Sydney or Calcutta, they are in the line of fire of Japan. And then the South African Union is kind of remote. But it's also kind of out of the line of fire. So you may decide that is you just have to look at your game and decide where the best spot is to set up your capital if London falls. So with all that's, and let me just say this about the Commonwealth in general. They're very simple on paper. They don't have a lot of special abilities. Everything about them is pretty straightforward. But I would say they're probably the hardest nation to play. When I say nation, I mean obviously collectively the Commonwealth. You can obviously have one player play Great Britain and then another player play Anzac and FEC, depending on how many players you have. I'm going to assume that it's one player controlling all of the Commonwealth for this and kind of treat it like that. So there isn't a whole lot of... You'll still be the decision maker for all 3. They're very simple, but they're very complex at the same time because of the physicality of the map, and we'll go into that in greater detail later. Now, their peacetime income increases. I will go over these real quick. Now, I covered all of these in the other Axis, or will cover all of them in the other Axis videos, but it's still good to cover them here so the British player doesn't miss an opportunity to roll or increase their income. So, rearmament. Starting July 1939, British income increases by D12 IPP per turn until it reaches wartime income of 25. Roll at the start of the production phase. Okay, now if Germany or Italy declares war on the USSR, it gets a 1d12 one time. That's it, just one time. If Germany or Italy declares war on any neutral nation in Europe, it's 2d12 each time. If Axis or Comintern declares war on France, Britain immediately moves to wartime income. If Germany completes a capital ship, it's +1 each time. If Japan declares war on a neutral, including China, it's +2 each time. And if Germany annexes Austria, Bohemia, or Slovakia, it's +1 each time. So, yeah, again, pretty straightforward. Let's look at declarations of war. Can it declare war on any minor nation? Yes, but it pays a 10 IPP penalty. Will you ever do this? I don't know. Again, that completely depends on what's going on with you and how your game is playing out. There are some situations I could see coming up where that might be something that you decide you need to do, but there is a penalty for it. Not only do you pay, America starts going down if they're not already in the war. So you got to keep that in mind. May it declare war on Germany, Italy, or Japan? Yes, once Britain reaches wartime income, and only if that nation has declared war on another nation during the game. Okay, this is important for the Axis players to remember. We usually assume that it's Japan that is going to be declaring war on the Commonwealth. But the Commonwealth doesn't have to wait for Japan if it's already at wartime income. Now, Japan has to have attacked another nation in order for them to do it. And there are situations where the Commonwealth may look at the situation and go, we could really cripple Japan if we attack them right now. They've spread their fleet too thin. They haven't protected their transports well enough. They haven't reinforced some of their nearby land zones well enough. And so that is a completely viable thing to be looking at when you're playing the Commonwealth. Is so long as those conditions are met, you are at wartime income, and that the nation, in this case, I'm talking specifically about Japan. Same thing could apply to Italy very easily. If they have declared war on another nation during the game. Now, one thing to bear in mind in the case of annexations, don't count, and in the case of Italy in Abyssinia, that started before the game. So that's already an ongoing conflict. And my interpretation of the rules means that would not count because they were already at war. It says that they declared war on another nation during the game. If somebody else reads it another way, please let me know, and maybe I'm wrong. We'll kind of talk about it. Now, can it declare war on the USSR and the CCP? Yes, under any of the following circumstances. Wartime income, and Germany or Japan has surrendered. USSR currently possesses an original Allied land zone. USSR has declared war on a neutral power not adjacent to Soviet home country. And the USSR declares war on an Allied nation. Now, the likelihood of this possibility coming up is pretty slim. Not impossible, but generally speaking, this sort of scenario is something I would rather kind of go into when you're looking at the East versus West expansion, which is an expansion I really want to play at some point. But the possibility is there because remember, this is a three-way game. And can it declare war on the Allied nations? No. Okay. So there are some caveats in there, which I covered. I think I got most of them. But again, Britain's pretty straightforward. Now, let's take a quick look at their victory objectives. And actually, the very first one kind of goes hand in hand with whether or not they would ever want to declare war on Russia. And that is contain communism. Score one victory objective if the USSR has no land units in Austria, Denmark, Spain, Norway, or in the home countries of Germany, Italy, France, and Great Britain. So yeah, That's a lot of that's going to just depend on how the game goes, especially when it comes to the home country of Germany, because there certainly is a possibility they could get into Eastern Germany or even Berlin, based on the circumstances. Maintain the empire. Score one victory objective if Great Britain possesses the following land zones: the South African Union, Eastern Egypt, and Aden. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at the map here. I'm going to have to, you know what, I'm going to just freehand my camera here. So we have Eastern Egypt. Obviously, the Suez Canal is very important to the British. We also have the South African Union all the way down here at the tip of Africa. Or I guess that's the bottom of Africa. And then we have Aden right here. Now, Aden isn't worth anything financially, and it really doesn't have any troops there, but historically it was very important to the British war effort because of that major port right there. There was a lot of ships that stopped there, resupplied, and went into where they needed to go and do their stuff. And that's part of why Aden is considered part of that victory condition, because it's very important to projecting their power and protecting their colonies on this side of the world. So yeah, you want those three territories at the end of the game. Then there is contain fascism. Score one victory objective if both Germany and Italy are at or below their scenario starting income for the 1939 scenario. 24 IPP for Germany and 10 IPP for Italy. Now, this says for the 1939 scenario, but that applies to whether you're playing the 36 scenario as well. That's the standard, is where they would be at the 1939 scenario, because in the 36 scenario, Germany starts down at like 20, but you only need to get them to 24. And then Mediterranean security. Score one victory objective if Great Britain has twice as many capital ships as the Axis in the Mediterranean and possesses Malta, Eastern Egypt, and Gibraltar. And so Eastern Egypt again, there's that Suez Canal, very important. Malta right here, which is important because of its central location in the Mediterranean. And then Gibraltar, which of course was very important as it's the key gateway from the Atlantic into the Mediterranean. So those are your four for Great Britain that you need to look at. Now, let's take a look at their wartime bonus income. Okay, possession of the Suez Canal in Eastern Egypt, +3. So again, Eastern Egypt now has been named for 2 victory conditions and for a bonus income of 3 points. Obviously, the Suez Canal is super important to the Britain in the long term. And then +2 if Iran is neutral or possessed by Great Britain. So Iran starts neutral. So unless something happens to trigger it some other way, Britain should automatically be getting those 2 points. And now Iran is not heavily defended, so if Japan wants to take a swing at it, it's not hard to get in there. And one thing to consider when you're over on the FEC, but I'll go more into that later. And then I'm going to go into the Dutch colonies in a second. And then there are no enemy submarines on any British Commonwealth convoy line. No enemy submarines on any British Commonwealth convoy line. That's a hard one to get. Odds are, because you have to worry about Italy, Germany, and Japan, because it says any Commonwealth convoy line. So all those lines running all the way down from Australia, all the way up past India, all the way around Africa, all the way through here, all the way up there. Every single one of them cannot have an enemy submarine on it. Good luck. That's a hard one to. I think that's the hardest to achieve if you ever do, because it's so easy for any one of those 3 powers to just stick a sub somewhere. Make sure that they stick a sub somewhere to keep that away from you. But it's nice when you do get it. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect that one very often personally. And then we're going to go to the Dutch colonies. We're going to look at the wartime bonus income for them. Now, those are under the Great Britain special abilities. If the Axis or Comintern declares war on the Netherlands becomes controlled by or aligned to Great Britain at the end of the combat phase. Once aligned, it may distribute this income as it sees fit to itself, FEC, or ANZAC. So, and again, I'm going to have to